This is largely based on the comments from Fred VanVleet last week. But right now, from The Athletic, the lovely and talented and good that we appreciate him giving us some time in between all his other podcast appearances. The one, the only. Good morning, Sam.
Oh, good Lord. Good morning, passive aggressive Dave.
That's just, I know, right? I'm such, I can't say the word on the air, but I am that. How are you, buddy? We appreciate you showing up.
I'm fine. You remind me of, I hate when players do that. The other night, and not to get into someone else's business, but
no, do it.
Jaylen Brown was upset at a story that was written in the Ringer from my guy, Logan Murdoch.
Yeah.
And it was like, and this is just my voice, so in case this becomes a thing, I'm not speaking for Logan by any means. But I was like, man, like you talk to the guy for the story, you have ways to communicate with him directly, and then you choose the press conference to say a few things. I mean, Dave, you got my number. You can call.
Yeah. Shoot you a text. It's no fun. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to make it up to you since we started out on such a controversial start here. You, in your latest, because I do read you religiously, you asked for help when it comes to the MVP vote. And I'm here to not only help you, but to end the conversation, if you will. I'm actually going to make this really easy for you, and we'll do a quick lightning round. I want to establish first and foremost, in your mind, Sam, as a voter, does it matter how many times a player has won the MVP before, if at all? Does that factor in?
Yes.
It does?
I'm trying to be honest.
Well.
Did he just shut you down in one answer?
Kind of did. I didn't expect that at all. So you think the fact that, just being transparent here, Jokic having won it 2 in a row, part of the equation, big or small for you, is does he deserve it a third time in a row?
It's like if you feel like everybody is neck and neck, you are just desperate for separators, and that should be far down the list. But I mean, I kind of lived it with Giannis being back-to-back MVP. And I don't know. I'm just trying. We actually just wrote a whole thing on our site, like a discussion about pulling the curtain back and admit. I wrote some of these things, like with Giannis. If you guys remember, he not only lost to Miami in the bubble, but he wouldn't seem like he wouldn't even guard Jimmy Butler, and then he couldn't get through the wall, and the optics of the playoffs. So you kind of get this mentality of like, man, like he gave this guys back-to-back MVP, and you're going to be 3-time MVP? Well, you saw like that didn't happen. It wasn't a 3-time MVP. So it's a similar situation now with Jokic, where last year in the playoffs, I understand nobody thought they'd beat the Warriors. But he's just not hit what he does. His superpowers have not translated to collective success to the degree in the playoffs that I think a lot of people think they should.
But it's a regular season award, right?
Yeah, I hear you. But it's like, it's also history, and it's also, it's 3 guys in the history of the game who have been back-to-back-to-back MVPs. So I'm just being honest with you and sharing like that particular distinction. It's probably more of a hang up for me on a back-to-back-to-back than any other, it just gets incremental where you kind of go, man, are we putting them in that class? So it's obviously not the answer you thought you were going to get.
That's fine. That's fair.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. Like when you asked for some, input on what others had to say, if someone's defending their pick, then maybe they're taking down the other 2 or the other 3 candidates. But I don't know, Sam, I guess kind of what did you learn when you did a little bit of crowdsourcing, let's say?
Are you talking about the fan piece?
Yeah.
Jay?
Yeah.
I think it was a mixed bag. It didn't get me much closer to clarity. The truth is that like, I don't know how to break it down. Like it's, these 3 guys are incredible. I thought the Giannis pick started feeling pretty good, but then if you really dive into some of Giannis's stuff, it's an incredible Giannis year, but he's probably not the guy I don't think right now. And Embiid is, and a lot of the commenters and fans highlighted this in the story, is that, we got it. Recency bias is real, and what happens now shouldn't necessarily dictate, but I also like meeting a moment also does matter. So Joel Embiid and his team surging and really being statistically the best team in the NBA since they started 12-12, and continuing to surge, and him continuing to play and stay healthy. Like to me, he does have a lot of momentum. Now, full disclosure, as far as basketball preferences, I respect the hell out of his game. It's always tugged at me a little bit in the comparison to Jokic, that like Jokic is, 2x the playmaker that Embiid is, if not more. And he's just a different kind of player. Embiid is a Shaq-like dominant center, only a better defensive player than Shaq was. And, just a different style. But he's been incredible lately and for the whole year.
It's funny. Sam Amick of The Athletic joins us, and we'll move on here in a second. But the Nuggets are the 1 seed in the West, but I struggle with that because they're the 1 seed in what appears to be a weaker conference, and the Sixers actually have a half game better record than the Nuggets currently. So if you call that a wash and you look at Jokic and his efficiency, Embiid is not the playmaker, I agree, but is also a better defender than Jokic. I think that's safe to say. Here's the thing that nails it down for me, Sam, and you're the one that put up the numbers that made the point. If you're going through tiebreakers, right, I think one of the main ones should be most valuable to the team. Who is most valuable to their team? And I don't know that there's a better way to describe or illustrate value numerically than in point differential. And you wrote it out. When Giannis Antetokounmpo is off the floor, the Bucks are 0.3 of a point worse than when he's on the floor. When Embiid is off the floor, the Sixers are 0.5 of a point worse than when he's on. When Jokic is off the floor, the Nuggets are 12 points worse. He's got a 24.7 net rating versus Embiid's 9.4 and Giannis's 6.3. And to me, all things equal, that decides it. That's it.
I hear you, brother. I was trying to fact check you there. Are you sure you got all the numbers right? I don't know.
Well, I'm reading off. I mean, first off, probably not because it's. But secondly, I thought
you missed a good shot that you should have said.
I thought he was going to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm reading it. I believe I'm reading off your article here.
Clearly wrong then.
the Bucks have a net rating of plus 6.6 when Antetokounmpo plays and minus 0.3 when he sits. Okay, so that's number one. I'm looking at your article right now on The Athletic. Go to The Athletic.
Yeah, but the swing is what matters. I mean, it's a 6 points.
Yeah. The swing is plus 6.6.3. So plus 6.3 for Giannis. Okay.
No, but it's listen, I think let's cut to the chase.
Yes.
When it comes to on off, it is obviously wildly in Jokic's favor.
Yeah, almost.
One of the readers to Jason asked about the fans and their insight. Somebody did highlight, and I don't have all the data in front of me. Like the Nuggets are the closest thing to a hockey team of this bunch, where they do kind of, the rotations are more in lines, if you will. Like their plus minus of their starters is wild. I mean, Michael Porter Jr., Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, right up there in the top 5 in NBA plus minus leaders, along with Jokic. And so there's some of that nuance that you look at. And it's also hard because, when he's off the floor, they fall off a cliff. But, it's also, you can then get into kind of a philosophical discussion about roster strength. Is it Giannis's fault that John Horst, their GM, has done a better job than the Nuggets in adding depth to their group?
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is part of it. Like, does Giannis get elevated because of the level of suckedness, if you will, of his teammates? Their bench in Denver remains a problem. They tried to do stuff at the trade deadline. Thomas Bryant, Reggie Jackson, those haven't really worked. So I do care about that stat. I wouldn't have put it in the piece if I didn't. But the Jokic thing too, this is where, let's go back to your original question. What he's done before, does that matter? Within that, if the guy's won MVP, like within that is the playoff discussion, right? Like what has happened. There is like a holistic thing for me. Again, I can't tell you what percentage of my calculus it is, but a holistic thing of like in the history league, it would be ideal if we didn't have MVP winners who were just widely considered. I'm not saying this is Jokic because I think it's incredible, but who were widely considered regular season only players. Like the MVP and the spirit of that award it would be great if there could be some correlation to the actual greats when it comes to playoff success. And so what the Warriors did to Nuggets and Jokic last season remains something that I think is going to cost him votes, because they attacked him defensively in the kind of way that took away his superpowers. His assists were down about 3 per game against the Warriors. So he scored a bunch, but they did not successfully do what they do. They lose in 5 games. That's not the end of the world. The first 2 games, he's like a minus 25 roughly in both games. And again, that is similar to when Giannis struggled in the playoffs, and people it's just looking at it and saying, man, like I need my back-to-back MVP to jump off the page when it matters most.
That Sam Amick. God, we let the MVP talk get away from us.
Yeah.
We got to go. Any Kings stuff, Sam? No, we're good. They're
winning the title.
Winning the title. Mike Brown, coach of the year. Just don't want anybody to get angry.
Yeah, I mean, it's back-to-back losses. They're fine. I mean, the magic number hasn't moved in a little while. But no, they're good. I mean, Boston came through and got a get-right game against the Kings, and the schedule was brutal. Boston had like 1 game in 5 days and all this rest, and the Kings are coming off that trip. So they're fine, but they got to get back to it on Friday.
All right, well, coming up next week, we'll go over where Sabonis should finish an MVP. We'll make it King-centric then. Mike Brown, coach of the year, Monty McNair, clutch player, Jerry Westy thing, all that stuff. We'll do more Kings next week.
I know we got to go.
Yeah.
Did you see the Sabonis stat that I think Kings fans would love? Win shares. So you got Jokic way out in front, more win share, and this is a stat that applies to overall success. But Sabonis tied with Embiid for number 2 in the NBA.
Number 2.
Yeah.
Top 10 MVP guy, Sabonis, right?
Oh, I actually think
top 5.
He get some top 5 votes.
Yeah.
That's
I think like 5. Yeah.
Okay. Like 5. Okay. Sam Amick of The Athletic. Go to theathletic.com or download the app for all the best sports coverage. Curated perfectly. It's a beautiful thing, and I've got Sam right at the top. He's my one bookmarked author that I read all his stuff, along with Matt Barrows as well, another friend of ours. Sam, we appreciate you. Thanks for your time, buddy.
You got it. Thanks, boys.
Take care. We'll take a break. We're way late for that. When we come back, we'll clean up a little